Chapter 2. The Dis-ease of 1,000 Faces. Part of the healing process is sharing with other people who care. Psychic therapist. When people hear that you have lupus, most of the time they look at you with these blank stares and always answer with an, "Oh, so what is that anyway?" Or, my favorite, a blank stare with no reaction at all, as if you just told them you had a headache. People will understand other autoimmune diseases. For instance, they will react when you tell them that you have Lyme's disease, sorta, even though they have no idea how it exactly destroys your body. They understand MS, but only when it has already outwardly physically affected the patient, and they have heard of Crohn's and Graves' disease, but the only thing they know of the disease is that they're glad they don't have it. But when it comes to lupus, because it was considered an, quote, ethnic/other, end quote, disease, mostly affecting Black and brown people, nobody was really interested in knowing anything further about it. Even doctors were indifferent about it, and still are, even though lupus affects over 1.5 million Americans, with more than 200,000 U.S. cases per year. Although it has now crossed over to all nationalities, ethnicities, and races, doctors still don't know where to start in healing this disease and instead find ways to feed the symptoms with harsh drugs that initially help, but then become too toxic for the body's system to handle and eventually starts to fight back. The reason doctors react this way with lupus, I believe, is because it can be very elusive, vague, and hard disease to diagnose. There are way too many false positives and false negatives associated with trying to diagnose lupus, and with such a small percentage of actual definite diagnosis given yearly to patients, it's a clear telltale sign that we still have some ways to go for a real medical cure. With that said, my best advice from this point forward is for you to become a strong advocate for yourself. The best thing I did for myself was to keep a record of my symptoms, episodes, and my flare-ups. If you're going to be incorporating the doctor route into your self-healing journey, I highly recommend this. It's important to be able to show your doctors the pattern of your symptoms, plus it shows that you mean business. Unless you walk in with 3 or more lupus symptoms all at the same time, as it happened to me, it will take a while for you to get a proper diagnosis. It was only after I was sent to the hospital because of a full-blown staph infection from the lesions my family doctor incorrectly treated that my doctor finally believed that the diagnosis of lupus given to me by a holistic doctor was correct. So, with that said, let's see why an autoimmune disease like lupus, an inflammatory disease whose immune system attacks its own tissues, is so difficult for doctors to treat and many times diagnose. Let's break down the 3 most common early symptoms, and there are many, but we'll start with these, affecting lupus sufferers. Vague symptom number 1, fatigue. Fatigue is at the top of the list of the 3 critical early symptoms of this disease, but it's probably the number 1 most debilitating symptom of lupus. Unfortunately, fatigue is also one of those symptoms that fall under every other negative ailment known to man. Once your body is on the defensive and wants to protect you, it slows you down and kind of tries to get you out of the way, so it can heal you. One of the ways it does that is sometimes by putting you through the feelings of extreme, debilitating exhaustion. The feeling is almost the same as being sedated by general anesthetics, except you're awake and feel the pain. The difference with lupus fatigue and regular fatigue is that lupus fatigue does not go away no matter how much rest you get because it weakens you at a deep cellular level. Unfortunately, because fatigue ranges anywhere from all sorts of diseases and viruses to hard work or a night of heavy partying, try showing up to your doctor's appointment and telling them about your debilitating fatigue. Chances are they won't even take any blood work, unless you insist, and if you're a woman, unfortunately, they'll either blame it on your lifestyle or blame it on stress and your hormones.